In this video, we'll take a look at creating a plain text email with the document template. Usually, your customers will have access to an email client that can read HTML emails, but sometimes your customer will only have access to plain text emails. As a result, you want to send it in both formats. Well, of course, that means you have to build a separate text email to go along with the HTML email. To do that, it's actually not as difficult if you've already built a document template in HTML format. And I have on the screen a email here that was built with the document template in HTML format. And all we have to do is basically copy this to another form and strip the formatting. So to do this, we're going to need to create a new form. And if we go over to our project window and right-click the page and select Add Form, and select the source of form as blank, and select OK to accept the form properties defaults, and we have ourselves a new form. Let's go ahead and give it a new name by right-clicking it and selecting Rename down at the bottom. I'm going to call it Text and select Enter. And let's go ahead and get our variables down here. So if we select the variables from our order confirmation in HTML format here, if we select that, left click and select Control on our keyboard and then release it below the text form, we have successfully copied all of our variables to our text form. Let's go ahead and collapse that. It's easier to see everything. And what you can do with the document template is you can do the same thing. You cannot copy the document template icon directly, but you can copy individual components one at a time. So let's go ahead and copy our paragraph over by left-clicking and selecting Control and releasing it beneath the form. There it is. And let's go ahead and do the same thing with the tables. Left-click, Control, and drag, and release. Left-click, Control, drag, and release. So we have successfully copied our entire HTML email to another form. Now what we would like to do is strip it of its formatting. So let's go ahead and right-click our text form and select Display Form and Data, and the text email displays. And we can see that the font is Courier here. That's because we did not copy the document template properties over individually. We just copied components over. What that means is that each document template component accepted the default font of the form, which was Courier, because remember we accepted the defaults when we created the form, so we just accepted Courier. Courier is a perfect font for plain text email, and actually the recommended font, Arial, doesn't work very well at all in plain text emails. So we have our Courier font working, and it's working throughout the project, but there are still a couple elements we need to change. We need to get rid of color, and we need to get rid of this border down here. Those are things that the plain text email client isn't going to read in appropriately. So to do that, let's go ahead and go to this table and expand it. And if we scroll down here, this first row is our headers, so the quantity, description, and the amount right over here, quantity, description, amount. So let's go ahead and right-click the row and select Edit and General. And if we see the background color here, just select Automatic. That'll return to the defaults, which is no background. And if we switch over to the Font tab here, we'll see that our font is automatically white. Let's go ahead and select Automatic, and that returns us to the default black font, and select OK. And that looks great. That'll be perfect for an HTML email. So we've got that row figured out, so we can go ahead and collapse that. And let's expand this second row here. And this has our variables. Now these look fine, but in reality what happens when you copy variables from one form to another is that although they'll show up on the second form, they actually aren't properly linked to the variables that have been dragged over. What do I mean by that? Well, if we select this first variable over here in our project window and select Edit and Value, we'll see that it really isn't picking up an actual variable, even though it's showing the quantity variable. So what you want to do is just, from the drop-down menu, select the variable you want. We want quantity, and select OK. And that's fine. And if we go to the next variable, right-click, Edit, and Value. And again, we want to select the variable we want, which is description. and select OK. And over here is the amount variable, so we'll go ahead and select that. Right click, select Edit and Value, and we will select the amount variable and select OK. So we've got our variables properly linked now, and that's just something that happens when you copy variables over. So just to keep that in mind. And so we can collapse that, and now what we want to do is we want to get rid of this color again in this, relink the variables down here, and get rid of this border. So let's go ahead and first collapse the first table, and let's expand this second table here. And this first row is where all the color is going on, so let's right click that and select Edit and General. We'll go ahead and check the automatic box there. And if we scroll over to the font tab, see we already have the text color as black, so we can select OK. Why did our font disappear here in this element? Must mean that at the individual element level we have the font as white. So let's go ahead and right click the content and select Edit and Font. And once you've selected font, select Automatic on the text color, which will put it back to black, and OK. So that's just something to watch out for, is that sometimes your individual elements will have changes to them directly, and you'll have to make those changes to them. So we have that. Let's go ahead now and link our variables back together here. We can select our first variable, right click it, and select Edit and Value. And this is the variable for product. And we'll select that. OK. Next variable is tax. So we'll go ahead and select that. And then discount. And we'll go ahead and get that all straightened out there. And finally, we'll link our total variable. And there it is. So everything's looking good except for this border here on the bottom. That must either be from the cell or table, so let's go ahead and check the cell first. Right click the cell and select Edit and Borders. And we'll see that we have the border here of 10 on the bottom. Let's go ahead and just select None from the drop down menu and select OK. And that gets rid of that portion of the border, which means that the other part of the border is on the cell directly above it. If we right click that and select Edit and Borders, and we just select Single Border, that's an easier way of getting rid of it, and select OK, it's gone. So we have successfully built a plain text email with eFORMz.